All right, let's look at a table that's given to us where we have a random variable x represents the number of televisions in a household. So we can see 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And given the probability that they don't have a television, they have one television, and so on. So the probabilities. And we want to find the mean and the standard deviation. Sorry, I was clearing my calculator. So the biggest key is to get the data into your calculator. So I do stat, edit, and this just takes some practice of getting these steps down. So in L1, this first column, I'm just going to enter 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I'm going to arrow over, and in L2 column, I'm going to enter the probability values. So 0.04, 0.12, 0.22, 0.37, 0.14, and 0.11. All right, so I have the data in there. And so I'm doing second quit to leave this list area. So then I'm going to do second stat. So second stat, I'm going to arrow over to math and then down to sum. I press enter, and I want to look here and see the L2 if they sum, if these values sum to 1. So basically you could have just typed them in your calculator and saw if they sum to 1. So to do that, I do second 2, because that gives me L2. I close my parentheses, and voila, I do see that the values do sum to 1. So that means I can continue. So from here, I want to find the mean. So I go back to my stat, edit, and I'm going to add a third column, because the formula, if you actually do this out by hand, is you're going to multiply each x value times its probability value. Okay, so it says you're going to put this formula. Oh, now we're going to go add a third column. You're going to make this column a formula, so you must arrow up. So in other words, you're arrowing up where that L3 is, because I'm not typing any data in. I'm going to type a formula. And so then we're going to do basically L1 times L2. So 0 times 0.04, 1 times 0.12, and all that good stuff. So second 1 for L1 times second 2 for L2. And I hit enter, and you see all of those filled in. Okay, so I'm multiplying each x value by its probability. And then guess what? I want to sum these. So I quit. I go back to my math. I go to my sum. And then now I want to see the sum of the L3 column. And that's where I get the 2.78, or if you're rounding to 1 decimal. So a lot of this students will, say the problems take too long, but if you get them in the calculator, you can certainly go faster, and you're going to see the standard deviation, is definitely a lot more steps. But if you practice these over and over and over, you'll get the steps memorized, okay? And you're realizing what you're doing. You're not just memorizing steps. You're saying, oh, I'm putting the data, that table, in the edit in here in L1 and L2, and then I'm multiplying each value. So now I want to find the standard deviation, okay? So in this case, to find the standard deviation, you have to subtract each x value from its mean, then you square it, and then you multiply it by its probability. Okay, so that's how you find the standard deviation. The normal formula is standard deviation is how far away you are from the mean. So this is why you're subtracting it from its mean, and then you square it and multiply by each individual probability. So we're going to actually create a new column, and we're going to find the variance, and then I can just simply take the square root of it to find the standard deviation. So I'm going back to my stat, my edit, I'm going to add a fourth column, which is going to be a formula again. So I want to be up here. And notice I have an open parentheses. I'm doing L1, because that's each x value, minus the mean that I just found, which is 2.8. And then I'm going to square it. So in this case, I can just click that to square it. And then I multiply it by its probability. So I press enter, and I see I get this value. So once again, it's the x value minus the mean squared times the probability. And so if I go back to my second stat, my math, my sum, see how many times we've done this? You have this memorized by now, right? Oh, I didn't get out of there, so I guess I should get out of there first. Second, stat, math, sum, and I want to sum, this was what, L4? And so I get this value, but notice that this is the variance, so I have to square root it to actually get second square root 1.592 to get the standard deviation, and then of course I'm done. Again, it's a lot of steps, but if you've been entering data in your calculator, hopefully you're pretty comfortable with this, meaning the stat, the editor. Probably the only big thing that was different in this one was to be able to know how to put an actual formula in there as well.